Hi everyone, Effie here. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card using several of our stamps. So first we're going to start off by stamping this peony from our Fresh Cut Peony stamp set. It's a layering set and we're going to stamp the first peony in our Ruby Collection inks. Then I'm going to stamp the same peony in our Orchid Collection inks. Then I'm going to take the smallest bud in the same set and stamp that in our Peony Collection inks, which is our pink layering inks. Then I'm going to take the stem for the bud and stamp them in bright emerald and hot tourmaline. Next, we're going to take these two stamps from our Fresh Cut Dahlias set and stamp them in our Peach Blossom ink and Vanilla Frosted Cupcake ink. I'm making sure to clean off the stamps in between the orange and yellow inking. Next, I'm going to stamp the second layer of the dahlias, and I'm just using my Missy tool to help me position the layers. For my Peach Blossom dahlias, I'm just using my Coralline Hybrid ink for the second layers. I'm not using the entire coral collection to stamp my orange dahlias. I will be using red sangria for my third layer because I like how the red looks against the orange for the dahlias. For the second layer of our yellow dahlia, I'm going to use our Beach Blondie dye ink, and this is our mid-tone yellow ink in our Citrine Couture collection of inks. I'm going to finish stamping off our orange dahlias with our red sangria for the third layer. The red sangria hybrid ink is part of our Ruby Collection inks, which is our red collection of inks. For the third layer of our yellow dahlia, we're going to use our amber citrine ink. Next, I'm going to stamp these leaf clusters from our Fresh Cut Roses set, and I'm stamping them in our Minted Collection inks. Now I'm going to take these two ferns from our Mini Wild Floral set, and I'm stamping this fern in bright emerald, and this spriggy fern looking stamp in hot tourmaline. Then I'm going to take the vase from our Fresh Cut Dahlia set, and I'm going to heat emboss it with some gold embossing powder. After I finish embossing the vase, I'm going to stamp some stems from our Fresh Cut Peony set. I'm using this stamp to create 3 masks. First, I'm stamping them on some regular computer typing paper. You can stamp them in any ink that you want because they are just going to be used as masks. Then I'm going to fussy cut them. I'll only be using the bottom portions of the masks. So let's get started with stamping the stems. I'm going to make sure that the stems in the actual vase are radiating from the top portion of the vase. Don't stamp it outside of the opening because then it's just going to look a little wonky. So I stamped it 3 times inside the vase using our Lofty Mint ink, and then I'm going to position the masks over the 3 stems and tape it down with some washi tape. Then I'm going to take the same stamp but use our bright emerald dye ink, and I'm going to continue stamping to fill up the vase with the stems. Make sure all of your stems are going through the opening of the vase and not outside of the opening because we want it to look somewhat realistic, and if it's coming outside of the opening then it's just going to be a hot mess. Then I'm going to take this same stem and I'm just inking up the bottom portions of this stamp, and I'm going over the stems in the vase just lightly and just the bottom portions. I don't want to saturate the stems with the hot tourmaline. I'm just adding a little bit of the hot tourmaline to the bottom portions to give them a little bit more depth. Next, I'm going to die cut our peonies and our Mini Wild Florals with their coordinating dies. Then after that, I'm going to fussy cut the dahlias. These do not have coordinating dies just yet. After I finish with the florals, I'm going to fussy cut the vase and the leaves as well from the Fresh Cut Roses set. We're going to hand make a bow using our new gold foil tape. If you don't feel like making the bow yourself, you can use a die to cut out a bow. The foil tapes and our new glitter tapes work wonderfully with dies. It cuts very, very well with the dies. I adhered a piece of the foil tape onto some cardstock, and then I cut the strip out, and then I cut a thinner strip, and I am taping it over our vase because it's going to act as, a ribbon, which is going to go under the bow. Next, I'm going to cut out a thinner strip from our foil tape, and I'm going to cut the centers of this strip. I'm making 2 divots that face each other, and this is going to act as the center of the bow, and you're just going to cut it out like this. And again, this is somewhat labor intensive, so if you have a bow die, go ahead and use it. It's much more easier than making it yourself. I'm going to take this strip and taper down the ends. After I finish cutting it down, I'm going to fold it in the center with some adhesive. You can use Ranger Multi-Matte Medium or Stamp Runner if you have it. I later switched over to my Stamp Runner because it did adhere the foil a little bit better than the Multi-Matte Medium. So I created 2 fishtails out of 2 smaller strips from my foil tape. Now I'm going to adhere the bow on top of the fishtails, and now we have assembled our bow. I'm going to adhere this down right onto the ribbon that is over our vase. Next, I'm going to use our tiny thanks sentiment from our vintage frame set, and I'm inking it up with our soft garnet dye ink, and this is going to be our sentiment tag. I'm going to make a coordinating gold accent tag that's going to go behind the white tag. After I finish creating both, I'm going to punch tiny holes using my hole puncher in both tags, and then I'm going to use some twine, and I'm going to just put it through the holes and tape this behind our vase. I'm going to take some washi tape and tape the twine together because I don't want it all frilly and coming out behind the vase. After I finish taping up the ends, I'm going to tape it behind the vase. Next, I'm going to trim the ends of my twine so that they're not showing behind the vase. Now I have an A2 size card panel, and I trimmed it down to 4 inches by 5.5 inches. And I'm going to adhere my vase with some dimensional foam tape onto that panel. Next, I'm going to begin my floral arrangement. I am taking my Stamp Runner and I'm adhering down the first layer of my floral elements. I want these to be flat against the panel. As you start to add more florals into your bouquet, you want to use some dimensional foam tape to give your bouquet just a little bit more depth. So just experiment and plan out your arrangement before you actually adhere them down. You can take a picture of your arrangement and then recreate the scene as you tape everything down. I used a repositionable adhesive for the first layer of my floral elements because I did end up repositioning some of the foliage. There was a blank space in the middle of my project, so I decided to add some stems into that space. I just stamped some of these stems from our fresh cut dahlias. I stamped them in our hot tourmaline ink, and then I fussy cut them out, and then I just kind of stuck them within that white space so that the bouquet looked a little fuller and more realistic. Now I'm going to add the final foliage elements to my bouquet. I had to cut down my dimensional foam tape in half so that it wouldn't show behind the sprigs. Next, I'm going to take my gold foil tape and I'm going to adhere both sides of my side folding A2 size card panel because these 2 gold sides are going to be winking out from behind my bouquet panel. Now I'm going to assemble my card and it is now finished. This was my vision for creating our fresh cut florals stamp sets. I wanted to be able to make stamps that were perfect for mixing and matching to create a bouquet like this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know that it was a little bit long, but thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye!